You are now tuned in to the very best.
Double J in the morning. Power 106.7.
Live and direct. Let's go.
Good morning.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing wonderful. You know, we talked with your fiancé, if I may speak a little French to you. And right before you called in, me and my buddy LB here, we're talking. We're like, I think Game may be one of the realest cats in hip-hop. We were talking with Kendrick Lamar a little earlier this morning. And Kendrick really wouldn't answer questions about who he's got beef with. And we asked Game who he had beef with, and he was just telling us and stuff. But you don't like any of that kind of stuff, do you?
No, I do not. I am 100% beef proof. I don't like all that fighting and carrying on, you know?
In an episode that just aired on VH1, you guys called off your wedding because of what happened when he went to a party, right?
Well, it wasn't just because of what happened at that particular party. It was about the surrounding events leading up to the fight at the party that actually caused us a little despair.
The first time you stood up to Game and said, listen, I'm not having that. I don't care who. How does that I would love to be a fly on the wall. How did that conversation happen the first time you got mad at him?
Well, it starts out with, sit down, I need to talk to you about something, which is an automatic dead ringer for he's in trouble. So it's like, sit down, I need to have a word with you. So right when I say that, you know, his boxing gloves, you know, he puts them on, he gets all defensive because he knows I'm getting ready to go in on whatever he's done.
Right.
So, you know, I just sit down and I talk to him about, you know, beefing and fighting and being in contentious relationships with other rappers and other artists and so forth, because I just don't think that it's productive for him as an artist. I don't think it's productive for him as a fiance or husband, as a father. I just don't want him fighting like that.
But honestly, hearing somebody badmouth you and your kids, it didn't make you feel a little good that he went out and socked dude up? Maybe a little bit?
Maybe just a little small bit. but not to the extreme that he takes it. I mean, Jason is overkill when it comes to stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I really wasn't bothered by whomever it was, you know, calling me out of my name and, you know, calling the kids whatever he said, you know, because I'm really comfortable in my own skin and very, very confident with who I am as a person and as a mother. And my children are wonderful. So stuff like that kind of rolls off my back. I take stuff like that with a grain of salt.
One of the things I noticed on the show is you're definitely zero tolerance. You're not a pushover. Is that one of the things that kind of attracted the game to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's used to pushing people around, but in our relationship, you know, 90% of the time I do the nudging.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how slick was he when you two started dating?
On a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah.
He was a 10. I'd give him a 10.
What did you guys do on your very first date?
Well, our first date was really interesting because he had been trying to date me for a while prior to our first date. So he asked me what time did I want him to pick me up, and I told him I wanted him to be there at 8 o'clock. He got there an hour earlier and waited for me to come downstairs, so that's how it started.
Really? Okay, hold on. Now, I'm going to have to bust his chops next time I talk with Gabe. Yeah. Okay, so he's sitting outside in his car.
I think he was probably like twiddling his thumbs, you know, patting his forehead down, waiting for me to come downstairs.
Now, did he have flowers?
No, he didn't have flowers, but he did have on some really good smelling cologne, I remember.
And then what happened? Where did he take you?
He took me to this restaurant in Beverly Hills called Cape Madalini, and it was really funny because in L.A., where I live, there's one direct street that'll either take you to the west side or the east side. So as we drove down the street, that's either going to take you left or right, left being towards the west side, which is probably a better side of town,
right,
and right to the east side, which is, you know what the east side can be like sometimes.
Yeah.
So it was like when we approached the light, that would have taken us either left or right. When he turned left, I knew he was going in the right direction.
Were you worried about dating a gangster? I mean, he lets me know, Game definitely represents that he's a gangster. Were you ever worried about that?
Well, I should have at first. I really got to know him for Jason and for being who he really is as a person. So when we first initially started dating, I really wasn't thinking about the whole gangster rapper thing.
Yeah.
Because he really hadn't blown up when he and I went on our first date. It was a couple of months after that that he became the game. And then by that time, I was kind of like swept into it. I really didn't have time to process.
When he was in France, he got in a fight that resulted in him getting a nasty gash where he had to have plastic surgery.
Wasn't that the fight that they got in one of the reasons why the wedding was canceled, right?
Right. The whole France thing was a roadkill for me.
Whose party was he at?
I don't know whose party he was, what he was doing, or I heard something about Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah, I think it was Wiz's party.
Thinking maybe it was a party that he either threw with him or that they were both affiliated with. I don't know.
Do you have rules like, hey, you are not allowed to hang out with Wiz Khalifa anymore? You're not allowed to hang out with certain cats?
No more Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Like, who do you not like Game hanging out with?
I don't have anybody in particular that I don't want him to hang out with, because I think that he has to judge situations for himself. I mean, he's a grown-up, and I'm not his mom.
Right.
I know sometimes he acts like I am, and sometimes I feel like I am, but, I don't restrict him from going places and doing things. I just, try to stay in his ear in regards to handling himself when he is at these public events.
You just tuned into the program. It is Double J in the Morning. We're talking with Tiffany Cambridge, who is marrying the Game. She's got a show on VH1 titled Marrying the Game. I asked Game last week, I believe, or the week before when we talked to him. I said, I bet you none of Tiffany's students give her a hard time at all.
At all.
Yeah, he kind of laughed and said, yeah, well, I mean, they're a little younger. Let's say you got moved up to high school, teaching high school kids. Would you ever float out, oh, by the way, I am marrying Game? Who wants to mouth off to me?
Well, you know what? Actually, I've been blessed to have really, really sweet kids.
Right.
I teach fifth grade, so the kids are a little bit older than the kids that I used to teach, because I used to teach second and third grade.
Right.
And my kids are pretty well-mannered and very respectful of the situation. Where the game card comes in is more useful when I want them to cooperate or I want them to do good on a test or an assignment. I can use the game card. Well, hey, if you do this, maybe I can get you a CD, or maybe I can get you an autograph, or maybe I can even make him come up to the school and say hi to everybody. So I usually use him as more of a motivation than as a scare tactic.
See, that's why I could never be a teacher, Tiffany, because I would say, hey, guess what, kids? Here's the assignment, and if you don't, Jason, a.k.a. the Game, is going to come down here, and he's going to smash you across the face with a bottle.
Well, my kids are really sweet. They really look up to me.
Yeah.
And so they really kind of do what I ask them to do without the fear of the Game coming to get them. They just want him to come up there so that he can rap for them or teach them how to rap. Some of the kids have demos already made. They're trying to get their songs heard. Last year, I actually had him. Actually, he came last year on Career Day, so it was really exciting for the kids.
Honestly, how tired do you get of people coming up to you, giving you their CD?
Very. Very. I'm very gracious, though. I'm very gracious. I take them all.
Right.
Some of them I listen to if I think that they're earworthy. I'll pass them on to him. Some of them, I just put in my little pile and my little stack of CDs.
And then you sell them on the weekends at the swap meet. Who does it, right? Have you ever given one to Game and he was like, hey, this is pretty good. I like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have actually a little cousin out of Houston, Texas. His name is August Love.
Right.
And that's the only one that I gave him that I made him listen to. I mean, I actually went to the studio with him.
Right.
Told him, no, you put this in and you listen to this because my cousin is where it is at.
Right.
And he actually did listen to it, loved my cousin, flew him out, and he's in the studio working with him now.
We know he just started his own label. Is he going to put him on his
Rolex,
label?
I believe.
Rolex Records, right?
Yes. He's an R&B singer. He's not a rapper. So he's an R&B singer, more of an Usher, Trey Songz kind of feel.
Right.
But yeah, I think definitely he's going to add him to the roster.
Well, I can't wait to hear him. I know you got to run. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and the best of luck to you and the Game. Tiffany, remind everybody when the show airs.
We air Monday, VH1 at 9:30, our time.
Tiffany, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, guys.
And that's how it's done.
Wake up, wake up.
Wake up with Double J in the morning. Weekdays 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
On Power 106.7.